Whatever path you are on, whatever inspired you to come here today, we honor you and we welcome you. And now, our message.
Just anchor that with an evocation. As we settle into being here fully, as we bring all of our focus of attention to this particular moment in time and space, we join together, all of us in this room. We've all chosen to be here. We all listened to a voice, something that prompted us, something that nudged us to get out of bed and get ready and come here today. Each of us listened for that call and we responded. So I acknowledge that for each of you, for each of us in this room, that we each listened to something that said, get up and go and be with those beautiful people in that tiny little carriage house. We all chose to be here today. We listened, we followed, and here we are today. So what is today? Today is what you make it. Today is an opportunity just like every other day. This is an opportunity for each one of us to listen to that call, to listen to that voice within us, that wise voice within us that is always broadcasting a message of excellence. Some call it that still small voice within. Some call it intuition. Each of us listen. So just thank yourself quietly in your own mind and heart for listening and for being here. Because today I know that there is a message, a teaching, a truth, something that your soul is longing to hear. And today, maybe today is the day that you'll hear it. That it's that thing that maybe will boost you along. And maybe it's through the person sitting next to you that you'll hear it. Maybe it was in the reading from the Science of Mind magazine. Maybe it's on the radio going home today, or maybe it's from beautiful Reverend Myrna's message today. This is the day. This is the day. Or maybe it's that sense of gratitude that you've felt, that you feel, that you are feeling for being alive. There's something that you're here to take away, to learn, to grow from today. Ernest Holmes asks us to be willing to change, to have an eagerness about that change, a childlike curiosity. So let us set that foundation today, an eagerness to learn and change, and to do it with a childlike curiosity and excitement and eagerness. We are so blessed to be here. I know that Reverend Myrna's message is truly inspired, and that it uplifts the energy here, consciousness here. Thank you. So it is my very great pleasure to have my peer and colleague, Reverend Myrna Hirst, here today. Reverend Myrna and I go back some years. I've known her since I moved here in '03. Went to the Center for Spiritual Living down in Salt Lake, and we may not have met each other on a conscious level, but we were both there. Mm-hmm. And throughout the years, we've come to know each other and fall in love with each other. We've taught classes together. We've done lots of different things together. And as I thought about introducing you, I thought, how serendipitous our paths have crossed, not only here in Utah, but actually you were in Redlands, California, and I was just up the hill in Big Bear Lake, California. And so we were very close in proximity several times along our spiritual evolution, our soul's journey. So that's an interesting thing to know. So Reverend Myrna is a new reverend. She just graduated from the Centers for Spiritual Living this year. And so I'm so happy for you, so thrilled that you had the courage to listen to that call and to accept that call and to accept the invitation to be here and to share your message today. So thank you so much. I'd like to invite Reverend Myrna Hirst.
Thank you. You know what? You're very blessed. She's okay, isn't she? We've crossed paths many times, Allie and I. She was up in Big Bear, I was down in the valley. She was probably always a spiritual preacher. When I was down in the valley, I was an atheist, but, you know, so some of us learned a little late. I'm one of those. So I'm so glad to, hello, Mark, how are you? I see faces that I know. How that's cool. And faces that, hi, and faces that were here before. And my goodness, I'm glad it is to be with you. Thank you. Pronto. So, today is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. That's actually a line from my favorite book of poetry, Psalms. Now, you probably don't always get a lot of stuff from the Bible here. I know that we don't at the Salt Lake Center, and there are some of us who kind of resist it. But breathe, we'll get through it. I don't know about you, but for a long time the word Lord was kind of a trigger, and I got over that when I began to realize that Ernest Holmes teaches us, and all of metaphysics teaches us, that another word for Lord is creative process. If we allow ourselves to say, this is the day that our creative process has created, then we can actually rejoice and be glad in it pretty easily, don't you think? Yeah. So this is the day that I have made for myself. This is the day that you have made for yourself. Wow. Using that infinite power and wisdom that we call the divine. Sometimes we call it the law. You've heard that word if you've studied Ernest Holmes at all. And sometimes it's okay if we call it word. Okay? We're past that? Okay. So let's talk about exactly what that means. And I've got to say that right off the bat, thank you, Allie, for putting this out, because I was on Facebook last night, and Allie's little piece from Facebook said, there will never be more God, abundance, health, or happiness than is available to us today. And the only time we can experience what we may desire is today. We have to encompass right now, in our thought, all the good we can ever hope to experience. For out of that thought comes the joy of our life today and the pattern for our experiences tomorrow. That's Ernest Holmes at his very best. Speaking actual English, sometimes it was difficult. So this is the day that the Lord, the law, your creative process, hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. It's an interesting thing that we get to be in charge of our own lives. And that's the good news, and it's also sometimes the bad news, okay? And what's even more interesting is that what today has happened is something that you created yesterday, or last night, or first thing this morning when you woke up and said, oh my God, it's raining, I don't want to go outside. But you didn't say that because here you are. You made a different choice. You made a choice that said, this is my day, I'm going to do with it what I want to do, and I think I want to go to church today. And here you are, okay? Today, you're creating your tomorrow. And you're creating it based on the things that you say to yourself, the things that others say to you, and the way that you interact in the world today. So sometimes those are actual words that come into our mind. Sometimes those are words that come out of your mouth. Very often they're thoughts or words that come from that little committee that lives in your head, that lives in my head. You all know that little committee? Yeah, I have two very strong voices that live in my head. One of them is that awful voice that tells me that I can't do stuff, that I can't be stuff, that I can't. I name her Aunt Dee Dee for reasons that you don't need to know. You actually never met my Aunt Dee Dee, or you would understand. And sometimes, occasionally, she has something important to say to me. What I do know about that voice, whether it's my Aunt Dee Dee or your voice in you, is that that voice really only wants the best for you. It just understands that you're a very limited, very incompetent person. Does that make sense at all? Sometimes I like to listen to her because she's the one that creates a little caution about things. She keeps me from falling off the edge of the cliff. She keeps me from running out into the middle of the road, just like my mom did when I was 2. Actually, Aunt Dee Dee did the same thing. Okay? And sometimes I listen to it, and sometimes I don't. I have a different voice, though. And that voice I call my inner cheerleader. Because that voice says, sure you can. Sure you can. You can do anything you want to do, or anything that you have the power to do. Now, it probably is not going to tell me that I could be a prima ballerina in the New York Ballet. Probably not going to happen. But it does tell me that I can do a lot of things with my life. And I listen to that one because that's the one that helps me to get from here to there to there. That's the voice that helps me to create the tomorrow that I want to create, if that makes any sense. And I know that that's true for you as well. There are other voices in there. One of them is the voice of that beautiful child that always says, I want to go play. We listen to that one too, when we want to. It's a beautiful thing to have those voices that go in our head all the time. It's a good thing to have the voices that come out of our mouth. Do you listen to yourself? Sometimes it's a really good idea to do that. Because sometimes the words that come out of our mouth, if we're paying attention, teach us things. I found myself having to walk out of a room because people were talking about things that I want. Facebook, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, do you listen to Facebook or the news?
Not very much.
Because what happens is that if we listen to this stuff, and especially the things that we tell ourselves, we begin to believe them. And out of those beliefs can come a really limited view of the world. So I want you to pay attention to what you say. I want us all to pay attention to what we say. Because the words that we say, and the words that we believe, and the words that we hear from others, actually do affect our lives. And they affect our lives because we believe them. Or because somebody else believes them and we admire them. So you're listening to me, and I hope that you're not believing everything that I say. I hope that you're saying to yourself, well, maybe, maybe not. This works for me, this doesn't work for me. I think that's true. I think that's an important thing to know about what everybody says about everybody. So, point is, you get to decide. You get to decide what you're going to do with the things that you hear. You get to decide whether to accept them or not accept them as your reality, and you get to decide who and what you want to be. Stephen Jobs, do you know who he was?
Yes.
Jobs. Whoever this dude was, he said a really cool thing. He said, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition. Today is the day your creative power creates. And you're the only one that you can do it. So, once you know what you want, and do you know what you want? Often we don't. You know, I teach classes, and sometimes I'll walk into a class and say, this is the kind of classes I teach, what do you want with your life? What do you want? It's a tough question, because sometimes we don't know. very often the students, I will ask that question and they will tell me what they don't want. I don't want to smoke anymore. I don't want to be fat anymore. I don't want to live in a bad relationship anymore. But there's a difference between saying that and being able to claim, I want perfect health. I want a perfect relationship. I want prosperity and abundance. I want my life to sing and laugh and dance. It's harder to claim that than it is to say what we don't want. But it's important to do that. It's very important to do that. So how do you get what you want once you know what that is? Well, one of the things you do is hang around with people who are like you in this room. Part of it is showing up here with other people who understand you and don't think that you're crazy. Do you remember the first time you walked into a place like this, into this place? It's sort of like, who are these people? Oh, I'm not the only one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's cool. So you want to hang around with people that are like you and who support you in your, you listen to your own words and see what they're saying. You feel your own feelings. And it's okay to admit to being angry or sad or blue. It's also okay to admit to being joyful and have a good time. Okay, all of those things are fine because we all live in this kind of soup that allows us to feel everything. The only thing that we don't want to do is to not feel. So feel your feelings, whatever they are. And then move into action once you know what you want to do. Fun to be able to do that. Did you know that today is the 57th anniversary? 67th. Wow. 67th anniversary of the flying, the first, only flight of the Spruce Goose. Anybody know what the Spruce Goose was? Mm-hmm. Yeah. 67 years ago today, that little airplane, well, they even called it a boat. They called it, they didn't even call it a plane. Boat, yeah. It flew. Nobody thought that it could. Howard Hughes was an amazing man. He was a man who had dreams, who spoke those dreams, who believed in himself, who knocked out all of the stuff that got in the way of that, and as crazy as he was, he made huge changes for us in this world. Terrible, terrible mental problems, and we all know that. And he died a very sad death, but while he was alive, he was so alive and so interested in creating. He was using this divine power that we use in amazing and wonderful ways because he knew that he could. Because he knew that he could. I think that's that. So he's an amazing kind of, I listen to people like that. I hope you do too. Life should have purpose. It really should. And we should be able to live our dreams. So, the third part of that whole thing, okay? What did we say we started with? Today is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. See, being joy-filled and glad and rejoicing is kind of something we sometimes don't allow ourselves to do. Sometimes we get to the point where we know what we want, and we kind of really want to be happy doing this, and then we get to the point where we don't know for sure that it's okay to be happy. Do I deserve to be as happy as I say I want to be? That stops us as much as anything else does. Well, maybe, but maybe this is good enough for me. If you find yourself thinking thoughts like this is good enough, you might want to rethink. Because nothing's good enough for you except the very best. And you do have the right to be happy. We all do. I don't care what Dee Dee says. Or whoever that voice who lives in your head. We have the perfect right to live a joyous adventure in our lives. We can make it up any way that we want to. And we all have stories that we can tell. And sometimes those stories are just sad. Well, I've got a couple of them, okay? But I don't think I want to believe them anymore. I think I like to believe the kinds of stories that sometimes I make them up. In fact, all the time I make them up. Terry McBride, my friend, and you've got his book over here. when it's called the Hell I Can't, that's a whole different story. But he says it's all God, and the rest we make up. That's a profound truth. It is. Think about it. Because it's all God, but what the stories that we tell ourselves about that are things that we make up. They're not truth. They're just stories that we make up. So, decide that it's okay for you to be happy, because it is. It's not even okay. It's really what the divine wants for us. It really is divine, what the divine wants for us. There's only one animal on this planet that has a brain to body ratio that's greater than our own. We have the biggest brains to body ratio of any mammal on the planet except one, and that's dolphins. What do dolphins do all the time? They play. That's why we're here. We're here to have a good time in our lives. We're here to dream, and we're here to make our dreams come true. And we can do that. Goethe said, whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius and power and magic in it. This is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, your homework for this week. Did you ever give homework? Homework for this week. Whether she does or not. Since this is your homework, we will be collecting papers next week. No, it's to stay awake. Be aware, be conscious about what's going on in your life, what's going on in your mind. Listen to the voices and say yes or no, depending on what it is you want. Listen to the people around you and say yes or no, depending on what you want. Decide what it is you want. Say those words that support that. Be with people who support that. And stay awake and alert as you watch things unfold beautifully. Because the minute you do, the world supports you in moving forward into what it is you want. So allow yourself to dream. Allow yourself to feel joy in your life. You deserve it. It's all good. Let's pray together. Right now in this moment, as I breathe and move inside, I feel the power and presence of the divine right here in this room. In the air around me, in the hearts and the voices and the minds of all of the people in this room. And I feel this energy, this divine energy that comes from saying, I can, I am, and I will be everything that I can be. And that's all good. And for this little moment, say to yourself, I can, I want, and I can have. And in a little moment of silence, allow to bubble up through your dreams, in your mind, in your heart, that which you would like to have and be and do today and this week, and maybe for the rest of your life. I am. I can. I will. I deserve. And without a need to say how, just know the divine power that is you, that is the universal power, will create that which you desire. You may have to move your feet. But for now, the intention is the most important part. Right now, I intend for myself joy and love and abundance and energy and a beautiful day filled with friends, filled with love, filled with joy. Your own words are your own words. Claim those for yourself. As we know that the words that we speak into the law are the words that come back out. The law only ever says yes. A glorious yes to that which we desire. To know that this is so, there is nothing left to be done. except in gratitude, to feel it done. And say yes, and let it be. And so it is.
Thank you for blessing us with your presence today and being a part of the Satya Center. You're invited to join Reverend Ali and Reverend Lyle each Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for your dose of connection, inspiration, and co-creation. The Satya Center is located at 795 24th Street, Ogden, Utah. For directions, a map, and our service times, please see our website, thesatyacenter.org. This program was brought to you by the kind donations from the members of the Satya Center. Thank you.